Hey guys and girls, how you doing today? Your boy Too Lazy for Life is back with season 2 of ReZero. We're on episode 4 now. I'm super excited for this episode based purely off of the preview that we got to see at the very end of the previous episode. Well, it wasn't really a preview, it was more like just the end of the episode teaser segment of the episode that I didn't see coming at all. I thought Subaru was just gonna pass out and find Emilia also passed out on the floor, and that was it. That was where the story was gonna end for that episode. Cliffhanger, fade to black or whatever. I wasn't expecting him to then wake up in his own freaking bedroom back in his previous life. Okay, and then his dad, all right, I'm not even gonna go into that. We're gonna let the episode speak for itself, okay? But his dad just jumps on him, and then he finds out that he's basically back in his his previous life before he got isekai'd, all right, which we talked a little bit about at the end of the previous episode, right, in the post discussion. We don't get to see a whole lot of isekai that delve into the person who got isekai'd's previous life. Generally, that's left to only the first 20 seconds of the first episode of season 1, and we never touch upon their previous life ever again. But here we are with ReZero Giga Chad Isekai, showing everybody else how it's done, giving us a backstory episode now for this episode about Subaru. Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, it is kind of a backstory, but it's not, because this whole trial that Echidna has set up in this temple ruin building thing is about facing your past or something, confronting your past. It's all about something to do with facing the skeletons in your closet from your previous, living experiences that most likely are not going to be very pleasant for you. Probably the reason why Emilia fucking passed out within like 3 seconds, as we've already seen from all the hints and foreshadowings from, let's say, Frozen Bonds and all of this other minor dialogue hints between her interactions with Subaru and whatnot. Emilia's got a whole lot of skeletons in the closet, like with the whole forest of elves frozen over, and why she's been left all alone in that forest living with Puck, and why everyone detests her as like the reincarnation of the witch. She's got a whole lot going for her. So Emilia's got a whole lot of baggage, all right, in that fucking trunk that we need to have flushed out and explored a little bit more as to her character development. But now Subaru is going to undertake that trial, having just nonchalantly walked in on that fucking trial that was seemingly, just cut short. And then he gets sucked into it all and has to now undergo his own trial. All right. So it's probably to do with Subaru's previous neat life as a loser. All right. And something to do with, how he always perceives himself as such a loser with no self-value and self-worth. So it's probably something to do with that. I mean, that would be understandable as something that you don't want to face your fears, face your past with, your disgraceful, embarrassing past that you much prefer have buried under the rug. All right. So that was basically last episode, more or less, in a nutshell. Then you have all of this other stuff. I'm not going to explain all of it, guys, like for the pre-show. It's going to take forever. Like, I'm just going to list them out for you. Okay, how we suddenly met Frederica after an entire season of not seeing her at all, just one frame of teaser. We met Garfield, who I thought was a fucking short, fat, tubby ginger cat, but no, it's just Bakugo. We've found out a little bit from Frederica that the two people closest to Rosval this entire time was Betty and, surprisingly, Ram. All right, Betty I would understand. We don't know a whole lot about Betty yet, but it seems like she has known Rosval for a long time now, to the point where she even referred to Betelgeuse as Gisu, almost like she knew him as a friend. So Betty has some affiliations with the witch cult, or at least the sloth one. And then Rosval talked to Subaru in that cabin when they found him all bandaged up, that this entire sanctuary was the domain of the Mathers or the Mathers, all right, shared with the Witch of Greed, Echidna. So somehow, all right, it just completely was swept under the rug, flew over everybody's heads that Roswald knew Echidna. All right, Roswald was directly, like personally affiliated with the Witch of Greed. Oh, you know, just don't mention that at all throughout all of season 1. And Betty also don't mention anything at all about the witch cult in season 1. And then Ram apparently knows about Roswald's deeds as well, and we don't know if Ram hasn't said anything up until this point. So Ram's in on it, everybody's in on it, everybody's fucking sus. It's like Attack on Titan again. We got so much discovery to dig up, so much unknown, so many unanswered questions to figure out. Alright, Subaru's in one hell of a puzzle right now because everyone in that sanctuary is trapped. It's almost like a magical barrier, a magical force field, and they can't get out. The only way to get out is to break the barrier, which is to complete the trial, and the only one that should do it is Emilia, and Emilia's already passed out in the first 3 seconds. So we're gonna be here for a while. I honestly don't know how long they're gonna be stuck in this sanctuary for season 2, how long this arc is gonna be. But I think it's gonna be a while compared to the previous dilemmas that Subaru has been in previously, where he has to die over and over again and reset and fix. Well, in fact, he's also got the problem of having to try and get Rem back. So this is gonna be a big arc, if I had to take a guess. Okay, so much discoveries to be had. All right, let's see how things play out. Okay, for Subaru. Is a somewhat pseudo flashback backstory episode disguised as a trial, and for us to, it's basically like a plot device. This trial is to learn a little bit more about Subaru. Okay, so without further ado, guys, in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Man, his dad is ripped. What the fuck? Oh, hey, it's his mom. His wife has got elf ears. Or eyes. I hate all foods that are tiny and round. What other foods are there that are tiny and round? These nuts! Got Oh, you're still feeling the witch's grasp. Oh right, of course, this fucking trial. Oh my god, I thought he. Oh, for a second there, I thought he was back in the real world. The immersion is too real. That's a nice room you got there. Fucking weeb. Look at all these posters and anime figurines and manga. Yikes. Typical shut-in neat. Look at all these idol figures right there on the side. Oh god. What fucking anime is that? Is that a made-up one? Huh? Wait, really? Subaru takes after his mum? He's got his mum's eyes. I never noticed that. Never really drawn the resemblance. Wow.
考えなしのことでもある程度はしゃあねえなと見逃す気でいるしな。俺は学校が全てとは思ってないしな。
True, your dad's woke. Yeah, your dad is a real one right there. School is not everything. It only takes everybody too late to realize that now in the modern day society.
今朝のお前の面構えがちとマシに見えてよ。面がマシ？面構えの話な。おいおい、本気できそうだぞ。大丈夫なのか？大変だったね。ありがとう、スバル。君は私を助けてくれて。なんだ。どうして私を助けてくれるの？
Salty. Very salty.
ごめん。そうか。落ち着いたんならいいんだが、あんまり心配かけんなよ。
Nothing new to see here, folks. Okay. Just nothing new to see here. Another day at the office, isn't it?
俺だけが気づいてる俺の弱さを父さんやお母さんに叩きつけてほしかった。俺がどうしようもなく小さくて。
Self-worthless, belittling, self-deprecating, depressing. Huh? I thought you were done hating on yourself.
でも、いつからかな。一番にできてたことが一番じゃなくなっていった。俺がこうやってみんなを笑わせてる方がずっとすごいし、ずっと強い。やっぱりあの人の子だな。そうやってやることなすことバカになっていって、何も考えないで暴れてばっかりで。こんな楽しいこと俺と一緒にいなきゃ味わえないんだって。
Ah, yes, the good old high school clout chaser that realizes that as time goes on and they grow up, all of those people that followed them once upon a time left because they're all dick-sucking clout chasers. They're all vain sheeple, all right, that will no longer be by your side later, and you'll be left with no one but me. All right, that's what you get for being one of those like pretentious popularity chasers, all right, back in high school, back in kids school.
それからひたすら目立たずに済むように。
Oh my.
でも、父さんもお母さんも、どんなに俺がみっともなくなっても、変わらずに接してくれて。それが一番怖かった。俺を諦めさせてほしかった。でも、諦めるのは簡単だよ。テムは、スバル君を愛しています。テムの英雄は世界一です。誰が自分の殻にこもったぐらいで自分のガキ見捨てるかっつの。そんなアホ一直線な息子の曲がった少年だ。お望みなら俺が力ずくで叩き直してやってもいいんだが。
Like Subaru, I can relate to Subaru so much, right? When you feel like you're an absolute piece of shit in life, how do you think your parents might feel? All right, if you're just getting nowhere, like you feel like your self-worth is tied to your parents, okay? Like if you don't accomplish anything in life, then you feel like you get an over sense of guilt, all right? If you're a good person. There are some people out there that literally don't give a shit and just continue to be a psychopathic sociopath, all right, narcissist. But Subaru's a good kid, all right?
そんな憧れ抱いてるなんて気づけなかった俺のミスだ。ごめんなさい。俺何も返せないまま人も会えない。ごめん。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Oh, this episode's just so fucking depressing, man.
いろいろとお前にもあるんだろうよ。だから俺から言うことは一つだけだ。
お母さんと一緒にマヨネーズ舐める？
今はそんな気分じゃ。
そうだよね。だってスバル、本当はそんなにマヨネーズ好きじゃない。
Oh, really? You don't like mayonnaise? Huh? Tell that to the fucking onsen bath pool worth of mayonnaise in memory snow that Rem made for you. Oh, his mum is so fucking hot. His dad is a lucky boy, man, having to smash that and gave birth to that.
お母さんもこんなに苦労しなかったのにね。お父さんと何話してたの？
Oh, you know, we just talked about how I thought you guys hated me and, you know, my whole self-worthlessness that I thought I already had overcome with Rem in episode 18 of season 1, but I guess not. And, you know, how you guys don't actually hate me and it's unrequited or whatever the fuck, like, family love, alright? Undying, unyielding love. Because we're your parents, no matter how much of a loser you are, we'll still love you.
あのね、スバル。親は子供が思ってるより、子供のことよーく見てるの。お母さんだってスバルのこと見てるんだよ。
うん、そうなんだ。だからこうして今歩けてる。すげえいい子たちなんだ。
やっぱり、あの人の子だね。
俺がちゃんとできてるかな。
お父さんの半分かっこよくなって、残り半分スバルになったらいいんじゃない？
お母さん！やらなきゃいけないことがあるんだ。だから長いお別れになる。ちょっと遠くて連絡とかもできそうにないんだ。でもどんなとこにいても俺は二人のことを思ってるし。
スバルが何を言いたいのかちゃんと分かってるから。お母さんはスバルのお母さんなんだから。
俺結局誰に何もできないわ。
何かしてほしいから産んだわけじゃないんだよ。
それじゃあ行くよ。
いってらっしゃい。
Oh, why do I do this to myself every single time I'm sitting here watching this fucking show, man?
行ってきます。
Oh, hello!
思ったより随分と早く着いたね。ようこそ。
Ah! 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 How could you end it like that? Oh my god. Hey, but at least we get an ending, alright? EDs! Maybe I can use this time to fucking pick myself up. Oh, that was a good ending. Oh wow, those ED visuals, man, that looks cool. I'm gonna have to hopefully see that ED again. I don't know how many more episodes down the line we're gonna get this fucking ED again, and the OP as well. We haven't gotten an OP. We haven't got the OP once, right? Yeah, was it once? And that's it so far in 4 episodes. I hope we get to see the OP and ED again at least maybe once or twice each more. Okay, before we get to the second half and probably the OP and ED changes again. Okay, I gotta appreciate it a couple more times. That's the one thing ReZero. Okay, despite its amazingness at cutting. Holy shit, this episode was 30 minutes long! Holy shit! So this is what people have been talking to me about. Wow, that was a 30-minute long episode and I didn't even notice. I didn't even, like, perceive it. I didn't even realize that it was extra long. That was how captivated I was throughout this entirety of this episode, man. Holy shit. 30 minutes long, and they cut out the OP. Okay, like, I love how ReZero leaves out the OP and it extends the episode. That is a fuck ton of extra runtime, but I would like a couple more OPs, man. They're too valuable. They're too rare. Okay, if it was a shit OP like Babylonia's fucking OP, whether it's OP1 or even the more disgusting OP2, okay, I wouldn't give a shit if you cut that out. I'll be thankful, okay, that you cut that out. But ReZero's OPs and EDs, they're so good. The visuals, the songs, the whole choreography of just the whole production of both of them, that they're very, very good, and I would love to see them every time. Okay, but the fact that they make it so rare, like, it's too rare. To the point where it's like eating something tasty at a restaurant, but it's just a small little smack. It's a little fucking smackerel, okay, of a taster. And then it leaves you wanting more, and then you suddenly get this addicting craving feeling of, I'm not satisfied yet, please, give me more of that yummy food. That's basically ReZero's OPs and EDs in a nutshell, from my experience so far. Alright, it's just the fact that they're so good, but they don't come around often enough for you to feel satisfied. Yeah, sometimes an OP gets played too many times to the point where you get bored. Sometimes it's shit and you don't want it to get played at all. This time, ReZero's ones fit in that Goldilocks zone, just before the Goldilocks zone of it's so good that you get given it, but you don't get given it enough. Okay, and it makes you keep wanting more. And every time it doesn't come up, you feel slightly deflated and disappointed. Okay, so that's the ED. Alright, that's what I thought about the visuals. We're gonna have to see it a couple more times before I give you my final verdict. But from just first glance at it, it's solid, good, A++, S-tiered shit right there. Alright, this episode, holy shit. How many episodes is that in a row now that I've cried my fucking damn eyes out? I've lost count. Are we reaching double digits now, huh? 10 episodes now that I've cried my eyes out. 12 episodes now. I don't fucking know. By the end of this fucking season, I probably would go into close to 20 episodes in a row, maybe, crying my fucking eyes out. We're on episode 4. Huh? Like, people told me, it's like, oh, you crying already in season 1? Bitch, you ain't gonna survive season 2. Season 2 is gonna rinse you dry. It's gonna dick you up the ass, alright? So fucking hard that you're gonna be on the floor quivering in fear. A he-gout face. Fucking fluids pumped out of every single orifice. Crying of, please, Yamete, no more. It's so painful. I'm on episode 4, guys. And that's what this episode did to me. Holy shit, I am so fucking drained and wasted right now. I have to cry so much. I mean, what did I really cry about? It's just sentimental, sappy shit. Alright, this episode, now that I think about it, okay, now in hindsight, I just had a ingenious correlation and stroke of realization. This episode was basically Violet Evergarden episode 10. Alright, it just tugged at your easily low-hanging fruit heartstrings. Alright, it was a gut punch, a dirty, underhanded, undermined tactic cheap shot to the kimochis, to your feelings, man. It didn't take a whole lot for you to cry in this episode when the mum was introduced and the dad was talking about how much they loved their son, and the mum talking about how much she loved Subaru and how the two of them were always going to be there for him no matter how much Subaru hated on himself and thought that his parents didn't love him because they think that he's a failure in life and never amounted to anything. All right, he had so much high praise and what's the word for it? Like expectations, yeah, thrusted upon him. All right, that he couldn't meet any of them. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll expand upon that in a little bit. But yeah, you guys get the point, yeah? So Subaru, his whole life, it seemed like he had to meet the expectations of those. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we'll touch upon that as well. Meeting the expectations of those around him, all right? Subaru was too much of a self-conscious person where he tied his own self-worth and values to the perception of others, to how other people perceived him, rather than how, well, actually, that's not really true because he also perceives himself pretty damn well. He's also pretty self-aware of himself as to just what kind of a person he is. Subaru, very complex character, aka very, very human, very, very grounded, very, very relatable. All right, Subaru, he speaks to me. All right, he hits too close to home for me in the bucket loads. Okay, in droves, in volumes. That just how much Subaru's personality and his lifestyle and his character is like a one-for-one copycat mirror reflection of my own. Okay, so let's break down this episode and how it went. All right, the different aspects of Subaru's previous life that he had to go on trial for, from, you know, Echidna's like witch trial of confronting your previous past skeletons in the closet, having to face your own fears and whatnot. We got to learn a little bit about Subaru's, you know, fears and his lack of self-worth and all of that shit, right? From his monologuing, dialogue-heavy episode with Rem, episode 18, right, from season 1. But now we get to explore it even more, as if Subaru's character wasn't already flushed out as it was. We're gonna flush it out until there's not a single scrap left in the barrel. All right, so Subaru, throughout this whole trial, if we were to sum it up, okay, in a nutshell, it's basically just a brief glimpse, a brief like peering into the window of Subaru's past life, where he was a shut-in degenerate NEET that didn't want to go to school anymore because he had lost all sense of self-confidence and self-esteem and whatnot. Relatable, like I said throughout the video myself. All right, I was in that position once before as well, when you were high up on a pedestal in society, aka your adolescent childhood years, where you were so full of confidence, so full of self-esteem, so full of arrogance, all right, wanting to act like, you know, the big head honcho in the social food chain, the social hierarchy, the school ladder of popularity, all right, and you were on top of the world, making everybody laugh, making everybody think that you were the coolest kid in town, all right? And then slowly as you grow older, you realize all of that disgusting, pointless, clout-chasing, dick-sucking, papega, sheeple mindset of clout-chasing and trying to appease, all right, your surrounding fellow bros and everyone else in the school, all right, about how cool you are means jack shit when everybody fucking grows up. All right, and they start realizing the true harsh nature of reality and the working adult world. And you spent your life, your childhood, being too busy, fucking around, and not take it seriously. And then you grow up and you realize that you were left all alone because you just made all the wrong choices back as a kid, sacrificing all the right choices just to act like a clown and make people laugh and have people have all their eyes on you. All right, it basically is like every single high school American teen, you know, one of those cringy ass flicks, right, of the nerdy kids at school getting bullied by the high school jocks, sort of like American live action teenage movies, right? Something like that along those lines. And it's always all the popular kids that act like, you know, they're the kings of the school. And later on in life, they're the fucking 16, 17, 18-year-old preggers with 6 kids and a deadbeat dad, all right, that's also like 18 years old, but then suddenly left at the age of 19 when he went out for cigarettes and wouldn't pay for child support, all right, and never came back. And he didn't even bring back the milk, and you know, all he's in prison, or a drug dealer. You know, all those kids, yeah, the ones that spend all their high school time being popular and not getting any brains, not getting any real life skills to be of a useful, functional asset to society, yeah. And then you know, they end up being a fucking loser later on in life. Life karma, the debt collector comes back in droves later on in their life when they're older to ask for that payment, all right, of their social standings. They had a high social standing back as a kid. Well, your social standing comes crashing back down, all right, in your adult years when you realize that everything that you did as a kid was of very little extrapolated social value and worth in the grand scheme of the cogs in the conveyor belt, the cogs in the machine of the industrial nature and the engine, the machine of the Illuminati organizations of capitalism, corrupted corporations, and the government, and all of that bullshit, yeah? So Subaru was basically in that position. What a fucking long drawn out explanation that was. TLDR, Subaru was a kid that spent all of his free time not growing up, and then finally when his years caught up to him, but his mentality wasn't, all the kids left him and Subaru was left all alone. Okay, and then he lost all his self-esteem when he realized that all of his eyes were no longer on him, and then he became a shut-in NEET with no self-confidence and no self-respect left, right? Because as we heard throughout this entire episode, like, as a kid, you just get this same scene and the dialogue getting played back over and over again, right? Of these people surrounding Subaru as a kid, right? Saying, oh, you're your dad's son. You're just like your dad. You're your dad's kid, all right? Which is basically saying that you're a spitting image of your dad, and therefore everyone around Subaru, or how Subaru perceives how everyone else perceives him, is that you're not really an individual. You're not really an independent aspect, all right, living for yourself. Everybody perceives you as just a splinter, a chip off the old block. That's it, an apple that fell off the tree. All right, you're just a clone of your dad. You're like your dad's, you're your dad's offspring. You are just a junior version of your dad. Everybody perceives you to be just like your dad. And from all of the moments of the flashbacks of Subaru's, childhood life, of how he's running around with kids, constantly making fuss, causing commotion in the neighborhood, pranks, getting caught, all of the delinquent behavior just to make the surrounding kids around him think that he's cool and look up to him. It's all about all eyes on Subaru. At the same time, everyone else is also perceiving Subaru to be like his dad. So can you see, it's like these two conflicting aspects of what society is trying to make Subaru to be. All right, and Subaru's having to comprehend that. Also, yeah, the constant running, right? The track and field thing of him winning the medal, right? So Subaru has been constantly winning first place in his school's like sports day track and field, and he has just been so used to being number one, again tying into the whole his kids, like his gang, right, going around the neighborhood causing trouble. Everybody just used to look at Subaru. Subaru was put on a pedestal of triumph and success, and at the same time also being seen as like a spitting image of his dad. And therefore Subaru had two things to juggle. He had to try to appease everybody and try to make everybody, look at him. All the attention is on Subaru, basically being a clout chaser. And at the same time, also trying to live up to all of these other grown-ups, adults' expectations, right? Of, like, trying to live up to his dad's image, yeah? So, that's very difficult, all right? So, you're gonna have, hey, two parties, remember, you can't save everybody. To save one person means to not save another. You cannot save everyone. To save everybody, to try and please everybody, in the end, you'll end up pleasing nobody, all right? So Subaru had to, in the end, that was the dilemma that he was left with. He ended up falling out with all of the kids, all right, because they all grown up, and they just don't do that childish, immature shit anymore. And because he spent all of that time doing the shit with the kids, all right, he no longer felt like he was of a worthy standing to uphold and to be a representative of, a spitting image of his dad and how great his dad was. Okay, so in the end, Subaru was left all alone in the dark, feeling like he was of no worth to anybody. He couldn't live up to anybody's expectations, and then he ends up just being a shut-in NEET. Okay, so this whole trial that Echidna had put Subaru through when it comes to facing your past fears, facing your past, facing your... What the fuck am I on about, man? I'm just ranting, man, for like the last 20 minutes. Holy shit, Brain.exe started to crap out. Oh my god, it's almost an hour long, this fucking video. Who the fuck's gonna stay and listen to the ramblings of an old man at this point? Huh? Jesus Christ, what am I on about? So Subaru he right now through this trial needed to confront his embarrassing, self-deprecating, self-belittling, lack of self-esteem, self-confidence past. Okay, the fact that he thinks that he's of very little self-worth. Again, we touched upon this already in episode 18, okay, in season 1, but here he is still not knowing how to move on, because I guess one aspect that he didn't manage to lay to rest with, to peace with, okay, was with his parents. He vented all to Rem about his own self-awareness about how much of a scumbag he was, but there was still just this one thing that was still in the corner of his mind that hadn't been settled yet, hadn't been closed yet, all right, which was the fact that he left without really, you know, tying up loose ends with his parents. One day he just got isekai'd and, you know, he never got to see his parents again. And his parents didn't know whatever happened to Subaru again. And everything that Subaru wanted to say that he said to Rem that he couldn't say to his parents was left as an open door of uncertainty, and therefore eats away at the back of Subaru's mind, which is basically what Echidna had him go through right here. Okay, to try and see if he can also close that door once and for all and learn to move on. Okay, so Subaru having to face the fact that he was a shut-in NEET, which he didn't really do before he got isekai'd. You know, Subaru just tried to just smoke copium and try to just get on with his everyday life, knowing that he was a shut-in NEET, but not having to, you know, face it, right? Subaru didn't want to face reality being a shut-in NEET. He just lived everyday life, okay, as best he could without trying to acknowledge the position that he was in and what his parents may have thought of him. He was just trying to, you know, shut his ears off, shut his eyes off, kind of like that kid right back in a Silent Voice, right? That dude, okay, before he opened up at the end of the movie. He just tried to close everybody off and just not face reality, have his head dug in the sand like an ostrich. Okay, but here he is in this trial, facing those fears, all right, and trying to openly, verbally communicate with his parents and to everybody else involved in this alternate, like, space-time continuum of Echidna's trial of, you know, just getting it over with and moving on. Okay, so Subaru finally confronted his dad, confronted his mom about everything basically that he talked to Rem about, how he's a worthless piece of shit and how he can't amount to anybody, he can't live up to anybody's expectations, which, by the way, we've already talked about this with Rem and Emilia, right? But specifically Rem, how Subaru was the one that talked Rem out of being so self-deprecating to herself about how she couldn't live up to the expectations of her older sister Ram and how she feels like she has of no self-worth. And then it was Subaru, okay, that snapped Rem out of it, saying stop trying to live up to other people's expectations, all right? Live for yourself. All right, have some confidence and value in yourself and just be you. All right, the uniqueness of you is what makes you special, but you're trying to just constantly copy and live for the sake of others. All right, and that's just not doing it for you. Ironic how Subaru is the one, you know, preaching to Rem about all of this shit, and here he is breaking down over the exact same problems. Probably Rem needs to come in and give Subaru the exact same fucking pep talk that Subaru gave Rem back in season 1. Alright, so Subaru, you know, he feels like he can't amount to anyone's expectations of him with respects to his dad, and in the end, you know, it was all in his head, alright, because both his mum and his dad said, no matter, you know, what kind of a person you are, we'll still love you, alright, because we're your parents. And that choked me up inside, alright? That fucking hurt me so fucking hard. Okay, in the end, it was just all Subaru's delusional thinking. He just put all of those ideas in his head that everybody around him, okay, despised him, especially his parents, right? His parents spent all of that time and effort, all that hard work, all that money and finance and time and whatever, raising Subaru, thinking that he was going to grow up to be a good investment and pay them back sometime later in life, okay, and maybe look after them later in life. Again, these things that I'm talking about just hit home too hard, man. It hurts watching this episode, okay? Just raising Subaru to be a good, functional member of society, and what did they get? Just a shut-in, socially dysfunctional NEET, okay, that is just so mentally broken inside. So, you know, Subaru would think that if you were the parents, you're looking at it from the parents' perspective, looking at Subaru, how would you feel if your child, after all that hard work, turned out to be like that? And then Subaru ends up just putting in the ideas into his own head that if he was in his parents' shoes, his parents should just kick him out of the house and disown him, alright? And just have nothing to do with Subaru anymore, because Subaru is an absolute fucking walking failure of a human being that just couldn't accomplish anything in life. He talks big, he acts all arrogant, like he's on top of the world, but he's got absolutely nothing to show for it, which is why he's just so... He's so twisted in the mind right now, okay, in terms of his depression. But his parents eventually just told him, no, you're just thinking about this all wrong. In fact, his dad beat him over the fucking head several times. How dare you, okay, talk like that? How dare you, like, you know, put into your head the perspectives, okay, the perceptions that your own parents would think about you in such an ill manner. Okay, we are your parents. We'll always love you, Subaru. Okay? Ugh, it's sad. Okay? Like Subaru is just so relatable, man. It's just really heartbreaking, heart-aching. As you clearly saw, how many fucking episodes now have I cried in a row for Re:Zero? And I don't even know how many more down the line I'm gonna continue crying, man. This is just so fucking depressing. This one, it wasn't like deep philosophical shit and the complex writing that made me cry. This is just basically Violet Evergarden episode 10. Straight up cheap shot to the Kimochis with the whole family bonding, family love between a mum and her child sort of shit, just like episode 10 of Violet Evergarden with that mum and her child. It's just cheap tears, but it still was tears nonetheless, and it still made me cry my fucking eyes out like a goddamn kid. Okay, it's so sad. I'm gonna have to go lie down later and just rock myself to sleep. This episode truly has been an absolute mood for the rest of my day, man. So in the end, Subaru saying goodbye to his mum once and for all. Man, that hurt. It's like, I'm gonna be going now, mum. I'll never see you again. Okay, there's something important that I have to do. I'm so sorry that I couldn't do anything for you. And it's just everything that Subaru said at that crossing, that train crossing was so symbolic, all right? That crossing represented the crossing of worlds, the crossing of Subaru's like diverging path in his life and his story. A train crossing in a fucking TV, in a fucking anime especially, alright, a train crossing is so... And cherry blossoms, why don't you fucking add cherry blossoms into that scene while you're at it? A train crossing is such a symbolic plot device, it's such a symbolic tool you use, alright, in specifically mainly high school anime, slice of life anime, slice of life scenes, a train crossing, okay, symbolizes so much in a character moving forward. Alright, and all of that shit. You guys know that. You guys know that by now, alright? I've analyzed that kind of stuff to death by now, alright, in all the shows that I've seen. Alright, so in that moment there, Subaru's mom's on one side of the train crossing, Subaru's on the other side. They're about to part ways. Subaru's never going to see his mom, his parents ever again. The last memory that Subaru had was him walking out, alright, before he got hit by a truck on that night in episode 1 of season 1. And the last thing that he got to hear from his mom was... Iterashai, which is what? I'll see you soon. Have a safe journey. Goodbye. Something like that. Goodbye. Your mom's last final words to you was goodbye, and you never even turn around to say anything back. Oh, it just hurts, man. So fucking painful. But hey, I think at least Subaru's finally learned to be at peace now. He's put the skeletons away in the closet, or in the coffin, and buried it once and for all. He's finally learning how to move on from that guilty conscience past memory of his. So I'd say, did he pass the trial? Yeah, I mean, I'd say he did. I'm guessing Emilia couldn't face her past or whatever memory she had. That's the reason why she collapsed or the lights went out. But I guess Subaru, I'm guessing if from Ram and Bakugo's perspective outside, that the lights are still on, the temple is still glowing. So Subaru's probably doing well in his trial. Okay, he's probably gonna pass. Either that or the meeting up with Echidna right at the end there in that classroom is still more of the trial to come or whatnot. Okay, but I don't know. All I know is it was a fucking painful episode. Okay, like I said, ReZero, man. Like, ReZero, fucking Giga Chad Isekai series. Getting to explore what happened to Subaru in his previous life before he got isekai'd, and you know the people that he used to love and interact with on an everyday basis in that previous life. No other isekai that I know of does this. Alright, they cover it in the first minute of episode 1 of season 1 and they never touch upon it again. But you never think about when Subaru gets isekai'd, what did the people in that previous life must think when Subaru disappeared? I mean, just look at Subaru's parents. It's not like, you know, it's not like Subaru had disgusting, despicable, hated parents that Subaru would have loved to have been, you know, detached from once and for all, and isekai'ing him was indeed a godsend, was a gift to him, was a reprieve for Subaru's current life situations. No, Subaru had very understanding, very accommodating, very caring, loving parents. He had an awesome dad. I don't know what his dad did, all right, for an occupation, or what is his dad? How is he so fucking jacked? How is he so fucking ripped? All right, he's wearing orange fucking like trousers all day long. Is he like a fireman? Is he like one of those orange fucking outfit firemen, like from that fucking hentai of that orange fucking pantied fireman that fucks that fucking redhead girl? I don't know if any of you guys have seen that fucking hentai. You guys should watch it. Recommend it on Hentai Haven. All right, just some Giga Chad looking fireman dude with orange pants. All right, constantly shirtless that just keeps fucking railing this like small petite hot looking ass babe redhead girl, and she's just getting fucking creamed, okay, constantly every single episode, man. Damn, that's hot. That's some spicy shit right there. His dad basically reminded me of one of those fucking yaoi gachi koi firemen, okay, gachi hyper firemen. And then his mom as well. His mom was fucking hot. Okay, lucky Subaru's dad managed to hook up and smash that, tap that ass. His mom also had like elf eyes as well. Definitely an absolute beauty, man. And then they say that's where Subaru got his eyes from. I never saw the resemblance, unfortunately. Those eyes reminded me more like Emilia. That's what I thought when his mom walked into his room for the first time. It's like, oh, you look a little bit like Emilia, don't you? You look a little bit like another forest elf. Huh? But this is the real world. That was Japan. That's not in some random isekai, but in that world where Subaru's living in IRL, there's still girls that look like hot woodland elves. Damn, that must be a rarity. Yeah, Subaru had a very nice life for being a shut-in NEET. Still very loving parents, okay? And the fact that he just one day disappeared off the face of the earth, I don't know how his parents must have felt, okay? I don't know whether they're going to touch upon... I highly doubt they're going to touch upon that any further. This is probably the end of his backstory, unless maybe they'll flash back how his parents might feel later on in this show. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments, all right? How his parents might have felt when they realized Subaru just up and disappeared one night after he went out to the grocery store to buy milk and never came back. And the last thing his mum said to him was, "Iterashai." And his mum never got to see him ever again. His dad never got to see him ever again. His parents must have been so heartbroken. Huh? This is the shit that I'm talking about. Same with like all the alternate realities that Subaru has been in. Alright? Where he's killed himself, offed himself in that moment to reset himself to the previous checkpoint. Like in Steins Gate. Alright? Every single timeline that you keep making causes more diverging, like, what is it? Like beta lines or whatever the fuck you call them, all of the other butterflying effect, different alternate reality lines. Every time Subaru kills himself, don't you think that there is another alternate reality that he left in his place before he went back to the previous checkpoint? That moment where he killed himself, what do you think in that alternate reality all of those other characters surrounding Subaru, related to Subaru, like that have some affiliations to Subaru, must feel? Like when Subaru asked Julius to go and behead him, right, in season 1 to stop Betelgeuse. When Subaru stabbed the sword in his throat, all right next to Rem, right in the middle of everybody else that's being treated, right, at the beginning of season 2. How do you think Emilia would have felt suddenly finding Subaru's corpse sitting next to, lying next to Rem's fucking pseudo corpse, huh? Like when Subaru jumped off the cliff after he said "I love you" to Ram, and then splattered himself all over the rocks. You'd think every single one of these like alternate timelines that Subaru has been in, you'd think how you know what, you just don't consider the feelings of the people in those alternate timelines. The same with his mum and dad. All right, this is considered like the original, the OG, the prequel timeline before Subaru quote unquote killed himself to reset himself, but this time reset himself forward in another world, all right, in the ReZero universe. What happened to the previous timeline that Subaru left behind, where his parents one day found out that their son never returned? Huh? That's something an isekai never fucking... Well, I mean, isekai don't generally do the whole death looping thing, so this is a ReZero thing. I mean, did they... I don't think they even really did that in Steins Gate, right? Every time the dude Hyo-in Kyomo-kun reset himself, they don't really touch upon the previous world line that he left behind, right? So ReZero, I don't know whether they're gonna touch upon it, but I highly doubt it. But it's just something, you know, again, when it comes to time traveling and multiple different world lines and the whole death looping thing, you never really appreciate and explore and delve into all of the world lines that you leave behind, all right? And, you know, just what everybody else might think of you so selfishly committing suicide, all right? That is very analogous to real life, right? Analogous to real life. Hence why people say it's a very selfish thing to commit suicide. You kill yourself. You know, you're so edgy. You're so hopped up on emotions at the time. You off yourself. And then you think, oh, death is a sweet relief. A sweet release. All right? My pain is gone. My troubles, my worries are gone. I'm gone. Don't have to worry about any of my problems anymore in real life because I offed it with Sudoku. All right? That's a very selfish sentiment, a very selfish mindset. The moment you off yourself, you leave behind not only the world that you were in, but everybody that was tied to you. All right? And then when they find out, when the news spreads that you've just killed yourself and you've left them all behind without saying a word and you're not giving them any answers, you leave them in such anger and frustration and confusion. How do you think they feel? Of course you're not going to feel anything. Of course you're not going to think how they feel. You just fucking selfishly offed yourself and killed yourself, and hey, you're gone now. You leave the problems to everybody else that has to go find and deal with your fucking dead body. How do you think, okay, your family, your loved ones would feel when they found out that you committed suicide and you left them behind? You're going to psychologically damage them, okay, for a good long time, okay, having done that. But no, you selfishly go and do your own thing, which is basically what Subaru in a way kind of does every time he resets himself. He selfishly leaves behind, he sacrifices the people he leaves behind in that particular world line, in that particular alternate reality, to reset himself back to the previous and making therefore another brand new world line where he does all of the options, chooses all of the options differently to create a different, better alternate outcome for himself in that specific world line. Okay, so where the fuck was I going on with this? Huh? Oh my god. Holy shit, an hour and 11 minutes. Okay, we gotta wrap things up. All right, so let's try and sum up this episode in a nutshell, okay? TLDR for the people who somehow will skip to this bit by coincidence. You understand my 5-minute summary now of this episode and what I thought about it. Generally, TLDR, this episode was amazing. I cried my damn eyes out. We got to learn a whole lot about Subaru's past, more about his character, about his whole, you know, lack of self-worth problems, and this time tied to his parents specifically and how he thought his parents perceived him being such a loser. All right, he basically made up with his parents. All right, all of the skeletons in the closet with him and his parents and his wrong misconceptions with his parents, Subaru has cleaned out the closet, put them all in the fucking graves, buried them, all right, tied up all the loose ends. Subaru now moves forward, all right. He's learned to finally be at peace with that troubled past, and he'll just susume. Okay, great episode, packed full of intimate family bonding dialogues and emotions that anybody with loving parents and with a loving, healthy family relationship would choke up to, all right, can relate to from this episode with Subaru's interactions with his parents. I certainly did. You see how much I fucking cried my damn eyes out this episode? Holy shit. And it touches upon, the same concepts that we've been talking about so much already with ReZero, about self-worth, self-deprecations, okay, living up to other people's expectations, and then other concepts that I bring up specifically that the show hasn't touched upon yet, like how, you have all these alternate world lines that Subaru has been leaving behind, and what the people that he leaves behind must feel about it, and ReZero doing an absolute 5-head meta gaming move to actually touch upon the ReZero touched upon one world line that Subaru has left behind, in a way. Not really. I mean, they touched upon Subaru's origin that he left behind, but they didn't really touch upon the aftermath of what happened when Subaru left it behind, and how everybody that was emotionally attached to Subaru may have felt with him leaving. But then that goes with just about every other alternate world line that Subaru had killed himself to reset himself and left behind. We haven't touched upon any of those either. Okay, but it's still nice to get to see Subaru's past life in this one 30-minute extended long episode of heavy content-packed, content-rich, dialogue-heavy goodness that no other isekai tends to do. Or not that I know of anyways. Alright, so, yeah, no, that was about it. It was a very, very depressing episode. My kimochi's thoroughly obliterated yet again, just like episode 10 of Violet Evergarden. Alright, so that's it for this episode, guys. I think it's time for us to move on to episode 5. Holy shit, has this been one hell of a recording. Most of it was just me rambling. I couldn't even have my thoughts composed and collected coherently, because this episode just broke me so damn hard, man. So, yeah. If I come up with anything else, okay, I'll talk about it at the start of next episode. But for now, we're going to leave it as it is. Alright, so that is it for episode 4 of season 2 of ReZero. Hope you guys enjoyed feasting on my tears yet again. I'm sure this won't be the end of it. There's going to be probably more streaming fountains gushing out of my eyes to come for you guys to fucking slurp up. Okay, so remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Even if you're watching on Patreon, head on over to the YouTube to leave me a like and a comment. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Okay, also consider joining the Discord and joining the Patreon. Links are all given in the video description down below on YouTube. So click on all of them and just set yourself up and become more of an integrated member of the ever-expanding, ever-branching reaches of the Too Lazy for Life network and infrastructure here on the wide web. Alright, big massive shout out to all of my existing patrons right now supporting me on Patreon. And last but not least, big massive shout outs once again to the Sloth Troopers, Tomato, and Eden's Musketeer. And also to Flawed Otaku as well, before I suddenly forget and leave that one out. Alright, thank you, you three, so much. And also to the Supreme Sloth supporter, as always, Zozo. Alright, top dog supporter. Alright, 2 more spots available, okay, on my Patreon for the Supreme tier supporter. Alright, so please sign up if you want to show everybody else that you are that dedicated, that faithful of a Too Lazy for Life fanatical, loyal servant. I'll very much appreciate it. Okay. So that is it, guys. 1 hour long or more video. All right, holy shit. Episode 4. Episode 1, 47 something minutes long recording. 2 was like 45. 3 was like 47, and now episode 4 is like 1 hour and 20 minutes. Holy shit. Are we gonna do this every episode of season 2? This is way too long, way outside of the boundaries of my comprehensions of what I was getting myself into, man, with this series. Season 2 is so far just so cram-packed full of content to talk about. It's insane. This is literally the second coming of Attack on Titan, like I've been preaching so far up until this point. Alright, so that is it for episode 4. I'll see you guys over very shortly for episode 5. Alright, coming up for you guys next. But until then, that is it from your boy Too Lazy for Life. Catch you later.